I would like to have one podcast where it's like I'm not saying now or on this show, but like where you just talk about like random stuff.
Yeah, because we haven't started
Yeah,
yet.
but
Y'all are just trying to disrespect.
where's my water bottle?
Yes, we are trying to disrespect you.
Sure. Welcome back, everybody, to the Back Pocket Podcast, and we are finally back with a NFL podcast. It's weird. We've been saying the word football is now lodged in my mind, and it means different things. So we got to get back to it. But welcome back, everybody, to an NFL podcast, our first NFL one since switching our name. So if this is your first time seeing the show, or you just haven't tuned in because we haven't done an NFL podcast, welcome back. We did not forget about the NFL. It has just been so quiet the past couple weeks. We've been like, okay, there's no reason for us to do anything because there's nothing to talk about and it would be boring, but we're back. A ton of stuff has gone down. We have a ton of topics. Welcome back to episode 4. We have obviously a couple running backs have not signed long-term deals. They have passed the franchise deadline, so we'll be getting into that. We'll be talking about Dak Prescott. We will as well be talking about DeAndre Hopkins signing for the Tennessee Titans, and then we will as well be going into some games, if you will. Shorter podcast today. Still not too much to talk about in the NFL, but we're getting in what we can. Kian McDermott, Charlie Nidell, and Suraj Kadali, your trusty crew always. God, it's been a long time since we've had all 4. Subscribe to the channel. We're trying to get to 2,000 subscribers soon. And without further ado, let's hop right into it. Gentlemen, like we said, we have 2 Giants fans here, so this next segment will become very, very sentimental to both of us. But Saquon Barkley and Josh Jacobs, the 2 biggest names right now in the NFL, as both running backs going into their 6th year, have not agreed to a contract with their respective teams, and they are not expected to show up to training camp for Josh Jacobs for the Raiders, obviously Saquon Barkley for the Giants. This is, in my mind, and I'll get to my thoughts later, but I'm very torn between what to think. We have not seen a running back in the NFL get a contract over $10 million since Nick Chubb, which I believe was 738 days ago. I might be getting that wrong by a couple numbers, but around there. So very long time. Very, very long time. Close to 2 years. What do you guys think about the situation? We'll go into each first. So we'll talk about Saquon first. I believe that'll be the longer one. I'll go to Charlie first. I'm sorry, Serge, but Charlie, what do you think about it as a Giants fan?
I'll start this with a stat that I'm just seeing now for the first time, comparing, I'm sure a lot of people have already seen this, the average salary for an NFL running back to the average salary for an NFL kicker. The average running back in the NFL makes $1.81 million on their salary, and an average kicker makes $2.26 million. Explain to me how that makes any sense, like, at all. Because playing running back is such a brutal position. It's such a difficult position to play, and it's so injury prone, and it's so meaningful. But you can just sign any random kicker off of the waiver wire and off of free agency, and he's gonna get the job done for the most part. I don't understand how the Giants and the Raiders could not pay these guys. Josh Jacobs was the leading rusher in the NFL last year. That should say something about how good he is. And Saquon Barkley was arguably a top 3 or 5 running back last year and has been, for his career, arguably a top 3 or 5 running back in the NFL. I don't understand how you could not make this signing, especially looking at the Giants. I figured this was going to be a done deal. We paid Daniel Jones 4 years by $40 million, but we won't give Barkley a contract worth probably a quarter of that, maybe a third of that. It doesn't make sense to me. He is what makes our offense tick. That one, it just makes me mad that they can't get a deal done.
Yeah, I'm torn between Saquon Barkley. I obviously side with that, and I think as a fan of the Giants, the first thing you think about when they can't get a deal with Saquon Barkley is like, what the hell? He's the engine of our offense. But I am coming around to, I unfortunately think this league is again, unfortunately, the running back position is a year-by-year thing. I don't think that it is worth it, because you got to think it's a business. The Giants, the most important thing for first-year coaches, Brian Daboll, first-year GMs, is success. Joe Shane, fantastic. Brian Daboll, very good. Got them over 500 immediately. The Giants were in one of the worst 4 years of an NFL team in the history of the league. Daboll comes, they win a playoff game away. They obviously trust Daboll. He has a lot of pull, and I think there's no doubt they like Saquon. Obviously, he was fantastic last year, and I saw he's net made in his whole career about $8 million. I think there are points in that where he has been very underpaid, and I think there are points in that where he has been very overpaid. because he's been MIA. He's been injury prone. And I think, unfortunately for the Giants, you look at Daniel Jones, who I would not like that deal if Dable wasn't our coach and I didn't see the success he got, but I don't think he would have gotten that contract had Dable not been there because he would not have been that good. But I think, unfortunately for Saquon and obviously Josh Jacobs, it is coming to a league now where the running back position is starting to get less and less valuable because of the injury prone and because of just it's a league that is starting to throw the ball more. Saquon Barkley is a fantastic running back. Any team would want him. But a lot of Giants fans are getting mad. No team's going to pay Saquon. No team's going to be like, oh, the Giants won't pay him $12 million a year. We'll go pay him.
I absolutely think they will.
I don't think a team would. And I think if a team did, they would be very stupid to do that.
I don't think that's a stupid move.
I don't think they would. I agree with you here. I don't think they would because here's the thing. You can see right now Saquon Barkley is undoubtedly a top 5 running back in this league right now. But you could see maybe even next year, 2 years, he might completely fall off. We've seen that with guys like Ezekiel Elliott, he went through the stretch with that Dallas offensive line where he was the best running back in football. Clearly, the next few years, he just completely gets very much worse. And that's the sad thing about running backs. They have a very short shelf life. We hear these things where about after they turn 30, most of them really become worse and worse, and they fall off a lot quicker than almost any other position. And plus, add on to that really there are a lot of good running backs in this league now, and if you have a solid offensive line, you can make any running back look particularly good. And the difference between a great running back and a good running back isn't as much really. And I think obviously, Saquon and Josh Jacobs, it sucks because they have been two of the best running backs in the league. They were arguably the two best running backs in the league last year. But despite that, it's really, we don't know how good they'll be in the next few years because, again, like I said, especially Saquon being so injury prone, it's a risk to pay him. And with the running back position, again, I think running the ball is still very important. I think it's something that's still going to be, you see teams like the 49ers who still run the ball a lot, and they're one of the best teams in the NFL. But I think more the issue is that individual running backs are becoming less and less valuable for favoring instead like a running back by committee, like we saw again in San Francisco. So I think we're going to see, especially running backs that are a bit more one-dimensional, they're really going to kind of get phased out of this game. And Saquon and Josh Jacobs, they aren't necessarily examples of that, but even they're not like a Christian McCaffrey level receiving threat. So I think because of that, they're not going to get the deals that I think, obviously, they would want, despite being some of the best players in the
Giants
league.
fans, I want you to imagine this. We pencil in Saquon Barkley for $10 million, $12 million a year for 4 years. Week 2, God forbid, he goes down, tears ACL, gets a nagging injury. What do we do then?
Okay, but on the exact flip side of that, we pay Saquon Barkley.
Yeah, obviously there's a flip side. But
like,
the thing is, though,
this is a risk.
I don't know if a running back
Jones
can lead a team to a Super Bowl.
No,
I think at this
but
point,
he's absolutely a massive part in that.
Oh
yeah,
no, I agree, but
I don't think there is a single running back in the NFL where if you don't have for example, Christian McCaffrey. Say it's just Christian McCaffrey. Obviously, that's very important. But if you have Christian McCaffrey, they have Brandon Ayuk, Deebo Samuel. Christian McCaffrey goes down. This team can have the same success, in my opinion, with Christian McCaffrey without Christian McCaffrey.
I mean, we saw them literally having that similar success before he came in. He made them better for sure.
It's
but
statistically proven that teams win more Super Bowls when they have a very good running back on a rookie contract.
Exactly. That's what we saw with the Isaiah Pacheco this year.
Yeah,
he was a good running back. But
exactly. That's a fantastic example. Isaiah Pacheco, what, a 6th-round pick? 7th-round pick. Fantastic.
You say that paying Saquon Barkley is a massive risk. It is. There's no doubt about it. It's a huge risk. Then explain to me how paying Daniel Jones wasn't an even bigger risk.
Because
I don't agree with that one. I don't. No, I agree. I don't agree with that one either.
Contract, but the quarterback position is so much more vital and so much more hard to find.
I don't think it's harder to find in one sense.
But it's your proven, like, that's statistically proven.
No.
Isaiah Pacheco being
finding a quarterback who can be your starting quarterback in the NFL is easier to do.
That's different than
sorry. Harder to do than finding a running back who can be your starting in the NFL. That's what you're saying? Finding a running back is easier.
Yeah.
Okay. I agree.
However,
but that's proving you wrong.
I think that finding a great quarterback is easier to do than finding a great running back. A great running back in this league has proven Saquon Barkley. I think the difference between a good and a great running back is someone who can just change the game. Saquon Barkley is one of those game changers. Josh Jacobs is one of those.
But that's
game
like every
changers.
position. That's
No,
not
I
like,
disagree. I think you can find at
currently
least
more of them at quarterback.
I think you
No.
can find at least one game-changing running back in each draft. I think Bijan
Yeah.
this year. We saw Brees Hall last year.
But I think
Pacheco. I think Pacheco's a game
Nah, I wouldn't
changer
say he's a
running back.
game changer,
No.
but still a good
But
running
okay,
back.
regardless, he's a game changer. They were completely fine. They won a Super Bowl, and he was fantastic in the Super Bowl.
But I think that finding a running back like Saquon Barkley, and there's, I think, no doubt that if the Giants don't have Saquon Barkley this year, they will perform worse than if they did have Saquon Barkley. That's
Yeah, but
that's
you're
a
weighing
given.
that Saquon gets injured.
Yes, but anybody getting injured is a possibility.
But
And
but
Saquon
running back
Barkley-
is proven because you're getting hit and hit and hit. And
But
hit
the
and
running back
hit.
they bring in could get injured. It's just there's
Yeah,
no
exactly. But that
injury
running back's
is
not getting
something
paid
that
$12 million a year.
injury is something that yes can be accounted for, but you can't make a decision solely based on the chance that someone gets injured. That you can't. Everyone
we've seen
has
that,
no.
We've seen
you
that
can't.
happen. Like that happens. Of course you can. That's in any sport.
Right. No.
There's a risk, and the risk is higher if that player is more injury prone, and teams are less likely to give them a contract if that player is injury
Less
prone.
likely so, but Daniel Jones, we've seen his injury prone.
Not as
He
much
missed.
as
He's
Saquon.
missed. No one in the league right now is maybe barring like Christian McCaffrey is as injury prone as Saquon Barkley. But we saw Christian McCaffrey and Saquon Barkley bounce back from huge injuries and have great seasons.
No, I completely agree. But there's still the fact that they could be out for an entire year.
So you do not want the Giants to resign Saquon Barkley.
It's not that I don't. It's just I am very much understanding of why the hesitancy, and I think Dable would be completely fine with it. And I
So-
very trust our coach, who just completely changed the trajectory of our team in a year.
I trust our coach too, but you're saying if you were Joe Shane right now, you would not sign Saquon
Not
Barkley.
not to. It
What-
depends. I think 10 million is a stretch, but if he wants over that, which I think he will, I don't get it. And Charlie, I know you're saying that Saquon Barkley. He said it is what it is. He tweeted it is what it is. I think he understands that it's unfortunately a league that's trending away from it.
Okay, I don't think his tweet says anything.
Yeah, but
Like
it's
at
like
all.
he's understanding
I agree
that.
with that. I agree. I don't think the tweet says anything. But what I will say, I think it's fine to make Saquon the highest paid running back in the league. But I think what Saquon probably, if I had to guess, what his gripes would be was how long that deal is. And I'm sure that the Giants, especially Joe Shane, knowing that running backs, especially like Saquon Barkley, have a shorter shelf life, he might not want to pay him a 3-4 year deal. Instead, maybe stick to like a short-term 1-2 year deal and see how it works out. Or maybe
Saquon
not
doesn't want that.
offer no more guarantees after the second year. And I think Saquon, obviously, given that he was one of the best running backs in the league this year, he wants kind of a longer, more guaranteed deal. But the sad reality is that with running backs, we're seeing the position. We're seeing that what happens consistently is that they will fall off. Most of them will fall off when they get midway through their second contract, and I don't think teams want to replicate the mistake that Dallas made with Ezekiel Elliott, or I think the Jaguars did with Leonard Fournette. Also, that was another one.
So I completely agree with I completely agree. I think the Giants are very hesitant to give him a long-term deal. Obviously, Saquon, knowing this, wants a long-term deal. It's two hard things, like two combating interests, two combating forces. But this is where I think that Saquon Barkley and his agent, and this might be off topic of whether or not the Giants want to re-sign him, should know that if the Giants won't give him a short-term deal, no one's going to.
Exactly.
Or sorry, a long-term deal, no one's going to. And that's where I would think they would agree to whatever deal the Giants would give him. I think that the Giants are possibly the team in the NFL that wants Saquon Barkley the most.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think this is probably Saquon Barkley's preferred destination and the Giants' preferred running back. This, barring, without money, without years, whatever it is, without a negotiation, this is the match.
Well, yeah.
Saquon Barkley to
Obviously.
the
Yeah.
Giants.
Well, yeah.
I don't see why, if the Giants wouldn't give him anything, anybody else would. So I don't see why Saquon Barkley, now this moves to Saquon's end, wouldn't say, I understand that, and I'm willing to take either a bit of a cut or a bit of a cut in years to play for the Giants. Because he's saying he's going to test free agency. We're seeing how that's going with Dalvin Cook. We've seen how that's
no,
going.
exactly.
But we've seen nothing on Dalvin Cook.
But Charlie, I think there's a significant gap between Saquon Barkley and Dalvin Cook. I think Saquon Barkley is younger,
By a year.
better. Saquon's 23. Oh no, how old is he? He's 24.
He's way older than 23.
Saquon is...
Oh no, he was drafted when he was 23. How old is he?
Saquon Barkley is...
Are you 26?
I don't know why.
How old is he? Why do I think he was 23? No, he's not.
He's not 23.
No, he's not 23. He's younger. Whatever. He's younger than Dalvin.
He's 26 years old.
Yeah, 26. What's Dalvin?
And Dalvin Cook is, I think, 27 years old. Dalvin was drafted, I believe, the year before.
Yeah, you're right. But okay, regardless, that was a lost point. But I still think Saquon. I think we can all agree Saquon is far better. Than
Right,
Dalvin
but
Cook.
that means Saquon's demanding more money.
Exactly.
So.
And I don't think the Giants are willing to pay that.
No, but
I think
do
we're
the
agreeing.
math. If we're seeing Dalvin Cook not get anywhere, and he's older and demanding less money, why would we see Saquon get anywhere if he's younger and demanding more money?
Because he's younger.
But demanding more money.
But he's younger. And Saquon's better.
Yes, and that's why he's demanding more money.
Yeah, well, I don't know what the
Why
argument,
would why
I don't
would
know what the disagreement is
if
here.
someone wouldn't pay Dalvin Cook, who is a top 10 running back in the game and 27 years old, say $10 million. I'm just making up a number. Why would they pay Saquon Barkley $12 million?
I don't know. It depends
They
on
wouldn't.
teams. I think they would depend.
They
on,
wouldn't.
I don't think that's true. I think a lot of teams value it differently. Dalvin Cook did not have a very
I think
good
I don't
Dalvin Cook-
I don't know how many teams right now you're going to see that want to have a running back on a high paid contract, no matter who that running back is. Maybe Christian McCaffrey with the Niners, but other than that,
Where
I don't see.
It's for me where the confusing comes in is clearly the Giants want Saquon Barkley, and clearly they're willing to pay him a good amount. And this is where I agree with Serge's point, where I think they want a shorter term deal than he wants, and that's the only thing standing in the way of this contract because they paid his $10 million franchise tag. They're clearly valuing him at the very least $10 million, and that makes him one of the highest paid running backs in our game. I'm surprised. I would be very surprised if they wouldn't increase to $12 million for a couple years. Where
not
I
that
agree with
simple.
you, Surge, is I think Saquon Barkley wants at the very least a 3-year deal, and I think the Giants want two.
I could see.
But Charlie,
I could see the Giants offering a 3-year deal with a team option. I think Saquon wants that 3rd-year guaranteed.
He needs
But-
guaranteed time.
That's what we actually.
I don't think the Giants are willing to, especially considering again like we said, tore his ACL his 2nd year and then was riddled with
out.
injuries the year after, and now we're seeing him come back to his best. But how do we trust that again the next few years he can stay healthy? That we can give him guaranteed money when we've seen previous instances that's been a big mistake.
It's obviously a risk reward, and I'm not Joe Shane. I don't get me wrong. I do trust Joe Shane, and I do trust Brian Dable. For me, it would be stupid not to sign Saquon Barkley.
Yeah,
think
as
it
a
would just be
Giants
stupid.
fan, yeah, I love Saquon, and it's.
This
I
is
guess
not about
I'm-
my love for Saquon. I think he's been our best player over the last few years, despite injuries.
Yeah, but it's. I think you have to take it all into account though that he's unfortunately at a position that is going out of the door in value. In
With
the
it
NFL.
all taken into account, I still think it would be stupid not to resign him.
Yeah,
And I think the
but
same
Charlie,
for the Raiders.
I agree. Like it would be stupid not to sign him, but you need to see the side of it because there's a
do.
chance he gets injured, and then
No,
you're gonna be like, oh,
I see the chance that he gets injured, but there's a chance that the other team could sign him and he still gets injured. Like there's no,
Yeah.
the Giants, they're gonna look stupid if they re-sign him to a $12 million deal and he gets injured. They'll also look stupid if they don't sign him and somebody else signs him to a $12 million deal and he's the leading rusher in the league, which is
I
possible.
don't think they would because I think they would. That's the chance, but then they go sign someone else, draft someone else. I think there's always that chance, but he's great for 1 year, and then that team is stuck. Like you have to take into account it's 3 years of Saquon Barkley. I love Saquon. He is not staying healthy for 3 straight years. There are very few besides Derrick Henry who in a single season who he'll get 18 games out of.
But
literally no running back that he'll get 18 games out of.
But for me, and I'm not in the booth, so I'm not, I don't have the financial numbers in front of me, so I can't, say that, because obviously I would say pay him $100 million for a year because I don't have those numbers in front of me. For me, if I'm paying Saquon Barkley over a 3-year deal, that's taking into account that he might not play some games.
But it's
He
not
will
some.
not
It's like
play
he
some
not play a
games.
year.
And it's possible that he misses 17 games over a course of 51.
Which isn't worth
but
it.
I still think that Saquon Barkley is worth that money.
And that's your opinion. I don't agree
Yes.
with that. I don't
and I
that's
think
worth
that
it.
the Giants value him at that. I think that this is...
Well, they clearly don't value him at that.
We don't know what the problem with the contract negotiation is.
So
it's not...
The problem is very clearly
I don't think...
he's injury prone, and they obviously there is some option within the contract where they do not want him to secure him.
I don't think that's
into a
obvious at all.
3-year
We have
deal.
no idea what the problem with the contract
Okay,
is.
well, there's very few things it could be. Like it's either
But it could-
one they
it-
think
but
he's
it
injury
could be
prone, one
any
they
of
don't
them.
think it's bad. Yeah, but you can narrow it down to 2 things, 3 things. And
I
it's
think
probably a
there are-
combination of all of those.
I think there are more factors than we're looking at here because Shane and Dable have to look at a lot more than we do as, fans of the team. I think, just to leave it at, the Giants would be dumb not to re-sign Saquon Barkley, and the Raiders would be dumb not to sign Josh Jacobs. We can talk about Josh Jacobs now because I think clearly we disagree about whether
Josh
or not Saquon
Jacobs to me
good.
is I think makes a ton of sense not to re-sign. He was good for a year.
But then how would you I don't see that one.
He was good for a year. I think.
Right, and the most recent one.
Yeah.
So.
But
you have to take into account that he might do it.
But Charlie, you're not. But the thing is, though, and you argue these points a ton. If it was a different player, you would be like, oh, they were so good for a year, but I need to see another year of production. I need to see another year of that.
But we don't need to see another year from Josh Jacobs because this is a 5-year vet who has shown over the course of 5 years that he's been a consistently good running back. He had his best year this year. He has not had one good year. He's had his best year this year.
If he was a consistently good running back, why would they decline his 5th-year option? Why would the Raiders do that?
I could not tell you.
But,
I don't know what's going through the Raiders'
But
head.
okay, Charlie, it's not like you're trying to make this into a general manager.
I think
If Jacobs was a consistent running back who they loved, why would they not accept his 5th-year option, which is like $2 million? He was the 24th pick in the first round.
Josh Jacobs in 4 seasons with the Raiders has had 3,000-yard seasons. I don't get how that's not a consistent rusher.
I think
But
we
you
saw.
have to look-
I
it's
think
not
we
that hard to get
saw
1,000 yards. Tyler Algier for the Falcons got 1,000 yards.
the Raiders trying. I think we saw the Raiders try and replace Josh Jacobs in the past few years before this with guys like Kenyon Drake,
Zamir
White, and it didn't work out.
Jacobs
I think
has just
that's
shown
why
for
they
it.
tried to. That's why they declined his 5th-year option. But now with him obviously breaking out, I would assume they want to keep him. But they're kind of again the same thing with the Giants. They don't want to be stuck paying a huge contract to a running back, no matter how good that running back is. And again, I keep saying this: the notable exception being Christian McCaffrey, because he is also a threat in the passing game, which is obviously huge. And I know Saquon and Josh Jacobs can be that too, but not to the level of McCaffrey. And I think nowadays with the at the running back position, you have to be so much more versatile with your ability in the run game, in the pass game. You have to be so multifaceted, and if you're not, then it's hard to get that second contract, at least the second contract that we see these type of players desire.
But answer me this, Charlie. Josh Jacobs was fantastic leading rusher. How good were the Raiders last year?
Not particularly.
Horrible. The Raiders were terrible. The Raiders were a train wreck last year. If they have a quarterback who puts up, again, estimating those same numbers, they win more games. The running back position is not that valuable in the league anymore. If they had a receiver like that, if Devontae Adams was putting up those numbers, it would have been more success. Josh Jacobs was the best running back in the league at the most rushing yards. I didn't notice him that much.
I think where that point is slightly invalid is running back is not as important as quarterback in the sense that a quarterback can turn around a franchise.
Exactly, which goes back to why they're paid.
But quarterbacks get paid 12 times more than running backs.
Because they can turn around a franchise.
Yes! That's exactly what I'm saying.
But you're arguing against
But a
which is
running
why
back...
they're paid.
But no. You didn't hear what I'm going to say. And that's a running back like Josh Jacobs, the Raiders aren't going to have a good record because of their one running back playing well. So if they add more pieces, they don't necessarily need the best quarterback in the NFL for Josh Jacobs and the Raiders to have a good record next year. I think that Josh Jacobs alone is obviously not winning them games, just like this. No running back in the history of the NFL is winning an entire franchise 9 games in a season.
Exactly.
By themselves.
Exactly.
You need the Raiders. I'm saying the rest of the Raiders team was so awful, and Josh Jacobs was so good. It's not Josh Jacobs they need to worry about replacing.
But it's the kind of thing where it's like, okay, we saw Josh Jacobs was fantastic. We did nothing. You have a quarterback who throws. There's never been a quarterback who's thrown over 4,000, 5,000 yards and over 20, 25 touchdowns, and the team's has won less than 7 games.
There definitely has been.
I don't think there ever has been.
I think it might have been. I think Deshaun Watson had that 1 year.
Deshaun
He was
Watson,
really
the
good.
Texans,
He was
they
4
won
and
4
12.
games.
Yeah.
I think there have been tons
There
of
are
times
always
where that's
there are
happened.
always
I don't
those
think there is. And I think
anomaly
if there is,
cases.
it's so much. There's so much less of that than there is.
No, but I do agree with Kean's point that I think that even if you have one of those best running backs in the league, they won't make as much of a difference as a great quarterback or even a great receiver or a great defensive lineman. But I think at the same time, guys like Saquon and Josh Jacobs clearly were central cogs to this offense. I think the Raiders offense wasn't great, but it wasn't awful either. And I think a large reason to that was because of Josh Jacobs. So I think both of these guys, at the end of the day, I agree with Charlie, they're worth re-signing. But again, I think the similar thing that both of these teams are thinking is that we don't want to be held to these large contracts, especially if they're going to go on for 3+ years, because again, I know I sound like a broken record here, but the running back position known to have a short shelf life. Besides guys like Frank Gore and Matt Forte, you don't really hear of guys in the 21st century who really go. Derrick Henry, but even we saw him kind of slow down a lot this year. Maybe he was kind of hampered from that injury from last year, and maybe we'll see him go back to his best, but it's a tough position to really be. It's a tough position to have longevity, and I think that's going to be a real concern for both these guys if we're going to get a new deal. And remember, neither of these guys, now that the deadline is passed, can sign an actual new deal. They have to play on the tag, and I think we're going to see both of these guys, at the bare minimum, hold out till probably the last week of training camp, and then once that's done, maybe they'll preserve themselves for the actual games so they don't get injured beforehand. So,
I think the contracts, the difference, whatever, it's quarterback you're paid 12 times the running back, and this is very vague, but I would say if you look at the difference on a football team between a great quarterback and a great running back, it's 12 times difference in terms of success of the team.
So all I will say is I think that the Raiders' offense last year, first off, was not the problem with the Raiders. They won only 6 games, but they were the 12th best team in the league. They had the 12th most total yards per game, and the 13th most total points per game.
Yeah, but they had 6 wins.
Meaning that their offense was not the problem there.
Yeah, but
I mean, clearly the offense was not the problem.
Obviously, Derek Carr was not good. If you have a quarterback who is throwing 4,000, 5,000 yard seasons, 20, 25 touchdown seasons, it can overcome a poor defense, whereas a running back can't.
But the Raiders don't have that.
Exactly. So it's like, why would we re-sign Josh Jacobs for him to do that again for us to win, 7 games this year?
But instead of finding a random quarterback, because they're not just going to, pull a quarterback out of their ass and be he's going to throw 4,000 yards this year. But they can grab
if they tank a little and they go get Caleb Williams or they go get Drake May, and they're not tied to huge contracts and they have freedom, they can go get players around them.
But I'm talking for this season because they don't have a quarterback this season.
But they're not going to be successful this season regardless. Jimmy G, who's injured and probably won't play week 1.
I'm saying
so they're going to cut their losses.
The Raiders' offense is, we'll call it 13th in the NFL. The problem was not offensively, because even with Derek Carr, they had the 13th best offense in the NFL. Defensively, they were horrendous this year. They name me 3 players on the Raiders' defense, and it's a tough job to do.
Max Crosby.
I don't mean to actually do that.
Trayvon,
but this was not a good defense last year. That's obvious. Why would you, for this year, they don't have a quarterback, not re-sign your best offensive piece, and then, I don't know, add a couple defensive players. See if that can help overcome a couple
I
wins.
think at this point it doesn't make sense to... I know obviously they franchised him already, but I think at this point, obviously, there's no point in saving your cap because there's no more top-of-the-line free agents left. At least defensively. But
this point there isn't. But... okay, you sign Josh Jacobs. He's not only there for next year; he's there for 3 more years. So then you're tied to that.
No, that's what I'm saying. That's what the constant dispute is.
Okay, I'm gonna explain. You have Jimmy Garoppolo, whatever. Jimmy Garoppolo. I'm a fan of Jimmy Garoppolo. I think whatever. Maybe he stays healthy. Maybe they win more games. I wouldn't be surprised if they won more than 6. You don't extend Josh Jacobs. You have that much more money. You get a top 5 pick. You get Caleb Williams, who's now on a 5-year deal. You go draft another running back where there's a plethora of them next year. There are a ton of good running backs in next year's draft. You use that money to go get pieces around. If you lose Devontae Adams, that's another contract gone. You go get more receivers. You go get defensive pieces. That team's rebuilt in a season. Or you can sign Josh Jacobs' entire self to a huge contract.
The Raiders, who won 6 games last year and just signed a new quarterback to go into rebuild mode.
If you think Jimmy Garoppolo is their long-term option, you are very wrong.
The Raiders seem to think that, at least a little bit.
I agree with him there because I think they did sign him to
they signed him.
a decent.
I don't.
It was
this
2
is like,
years.
I don't see. You're talking the reason the Raiders shouldn't sign Josh Jacobs is so that they can totally rebuild. I don't think they need to totally rebuild. I think they just need a few changes. And that doesn't need to be get rid of Josh Jacobs and Devontae Adams, who are two of the best offensive players in the NFL.
But Charlie, there's a cap in the NFL. They keep them. You can't go. You can get what, 2 more like players that will change your. Max Crosby needs to get paid soon. He's gonna have a ginormous contract because he's fantastic. Max Crosby's gonna get a ton of money. Nate Hobbs is one of the best slot corners in the NFL. He's gonna need to get paid soon. Like you have there, it's not just in a year or 2 years. It's a future. And you've seen teams, Patrick Mahomes, Josh Allen, Joe Burrow, teams that build around their quarterbacks who are not being paid a lot, and then they go and win Super Bowls. Obviously, Mahomes is the only one, but they go and compete in the playoffs. There is a massive difference.
Mahomes, Burrow, and Allen have all been given contracts.
Now
past their rookie deals.
Now they have.
And massive contracts, which.
But you look at Burrow and Mahomes.
Distributed those contracts among running back, cornerback, defensive line. You could have done all 3 of those positions.
And then you can't sign them because there's a cap.
No, you're not understanding what I'm saying. You can. Patrick Mahomes was given $500 million.
Mm-hmm.
You could distribute that without paying Patrick. Like, don't pay Patrick Mahomes. I'm not saying that they shouldn't have not paid Patrick Mahomes, but don't pay Patrick Mahomes. And you can afford a top-tier running back, a top-tier cornerback, a top-tier defensive lineman, a top-tier safety.
But then you don't have a quarterback.
But you can have a mid-tier quarterback who we have seen mid-tier quarterbacks go to the Super Bowl.
And lose.
Frequent.
Nick Foles is probably the only one that hasn't, and that's because the Eagles team was ridiculously good.
Matt Stafford.
Matt Stafford's a good quarterback. Come on. Matt Stafford, the season with the Rams, Matt Stafford was a top 7 quarterback.
No, I agree. He was like a top 10.
Look at the past Super Bowls. Jalen Hurts, rookie deal. Patrick Mahomes, Joe Burrow, I guess Jimmy Garoppolo, but lost it to Patrick Mahomes. There is such a huge difference. Serge said this earlier between a great running back, there's such a huge difference between a great quarterback and a good quarterback, and there's a very minuscule difference between a great running back and a good running back.
That's where I just don't think the difference is minuscule. But I think it's different than that.
I wouldn't say it's minuscule, but it's definitely a lot.
But it's like smaller.
But especially, I think if you have a really good offensive line, you can make any good running back look like one of the best in the league.
Exactly.
Like that's what we saw with Dallas with Ezekiel Elliott. We'll see that.
A good running back can make and this might sound confusing, but a great running back can make a bad offensive line look like a good offensive line.
No, I agree with that. I agree with that too.
I think we saw that with to still play well. That's
I do agree with that because we saw that with
Barkley tears his ACL.
I think we saw that with Breece Hall again.
Bad offensive line. Oh, he's great. Breece Hall, another perfect example. They're fantastic. The bad offensive line catches up and then they get injured.
I mean, that's not just always the solution. I mean,
it's like Breece Hall is a fantastic. Saquon happened twice. They have a really good offensive line now. If they don't get Saquon, I think I love Saquon. I would love them to resign.
We do not have a really good offensive line right now.
Yes, we do. The Giants have a good. Yes.
Andrew Thomas is very, very good.
Andrew Thomas is a top 3 tackle.
And that's it.
Andrew Thomas. We signed the center from the Colts was fantastic. We drafted.
So to be clear, John Michael Schmitz will be our starting.
Yeah,
center.
John Michael Schmitz. Sorry, Glazinski, whatever his name is. He's a guard. He was very good last year. John Michael Schmitz is fantastic. One of the best open field centers.
This is a rookie center. You just don't know what you're going to get.
Yeah, but offensive linemen generally translate. Besides tackles, tackles the one position where it doesn't. Evan Neal was not good in flashes. Great, didn't get injured. Huge plus.
But we have a mid-tier NFL.
I don't think we do. I think we have a top 10 offensive line.
No, mid-tier.
This is like.
I think a lot of it depends. I'd say a lot of it depends on Neal's improvement. Again, John Michael Schmitz, like you said, he's a great run blocker. I think he's going to be a huge contributor in the run game. But I think pass blocking is something that's a question mark there.
But as a center, pass blocking isn't your general.
No, it's
center. That's why
that's true. But it still is pretty important.
I think that maybe not top 10, but it's still good. It's still a very good offensive line. I think it's a very good offensive line.
This offensive line, I'll put it this way, just has a lot more room for improvement. I think
they have a lot. I think you get another guard.
They have the pieces to improve because I think Andrew Thomas is only a third-year player. Evan Neal's only a second-year player.
No way. Andrew Thomas is a third-year player?
Fifth-year player. Andrew Thomas was drafted when we were freshmen.
That would make him a fourth.
But
he wasn't drafted when we were freshmen.
No, it's 2020.
Andrew Thomas.
He
was drafted in 2020.
Yeah, this is fourth year.
Andrew Thomas is a fourth-year player.
Mm-hmm.
Evan Neal's a second-year player. John Michael Schmitz is a first-year player.
Mm-hmm.
There are places that this offensive line can go. They are not.
I'll give you a
yet.
considerable amount of money if John Michael Schmitz isn't. If John Michael Schmitz
but that's
is
irrelevant.
bad.
No, but it's irrelevant. I think John Michael Schmitz will be really good too. But as of right now, where we're standing right now, we do not have a top 10 offensive line in the NFL.
Okay, but even then that play, this is stupid because then it plays against you more. So then Saquon, if this offensive line is not good, like or whatever, not top tier, then Saquon's going to be getting hit more, and then he can get injured again. So it plays against you anyway.
But Saquon, despite all of that, still had a great season last year. Like I don't understand.
Yeah, he
why.
did, but he's had a great season other years, and then he tears his ACL, and then he gets injured against the Bears because his offensive line's bad, and he gets hit and hit and hit, and unfortunately, the human body is not built to get hit that much, and at some point it crumbles.
So, I feel like we've talked about this enough. We're not gonna get anywhere with this. Final verdict, Surridge, would you re-sign Josh Jacobs? Would you re-sign Saquon Barkley?
I mean, obviously, I think any team would want to re-sign those two players, but at
It's
the
not as
same
easy
time,
as that. Would
it
you sign them
depends.
to that much money?
But in the position that the Giants are in the position that the Raiders are in, would you sign them? We'll say, whatever contract you think is, whatever. Would you re-sign
To a
Saquon?
team-friendly deal, I would easily sign both of these. Yeah, definitely. Like a
That's
short-term,
team-friendly.
like
For-
a short-term deal.
No, to what they want. No, to what they want.
Would you re-sign both of them?
I don't know
on
what they want, though.
4-year deals.
No, 4 years, no. Especially if all four are guaranteed, no.
I
It's
wouldn't resign
too-
him 3 years.
That's too risky, in my opinion.
Yeah.
But I would say short term 2, maybe even 3 with no guarantees 3rd year. And that's sad because I think running backs. I think what needs to happen is we talk about how all the running backs are now upset because they're not getting paid what they're worth because after their first contract they're already kind of on the way down. I think what the NFLPA at least has to do is kind of make the running back rookie contracts a lot shorter, meaning that they can capitalize on their money in the prime. But now when they're out of their prime, not necessarily out of their prime already, but by the time of their second contract, they're usually already kind of not completely washed, but they're definitely not as good.
They're
so
not
I think it's
getting into them.
exactly. So now with the current system, it's really hard for a team on the business side of things to say, I want to pay a running back all 4 years guaranteed. And I just don't see. Me personally, I don't think the Giants or the Raiders would pay a running back 4 years. So I'd say 2 years, 3 years without a guaranteed. I think I could see that happening, but 4 years, even 3 years fully guaranteed, I don't think they'd do that.
And I wouldn't do that either.
I think at a 3 years guaranteed, I think I would still most likely be paying my running back. But
If it's Saquon, I understand.
But I
can
agree. At
understand.
any more, it just gets so risky. It just gets incredibly, incredibly tedious. But I think at a 3-year deal, and I can say this having watched all of Saquon's games pretty much ever. This is such a valuable player that I think is worth that. But that's an opinion statement. Is or isn't worth that? We'll see.
Yeah, I wouldn't do 3 years guaranteed. I think 2 years, and I mean even then you're playing a risk here. Josh Jacobs is kind of less of one, but even like Saquon, you're just playing the risk. I love Saquon. I think he was great, but he's been great for 2 years. He's been great for 2 years. He's been MIA for 2. So I just think it's too big of a risk. And I am playing devil's advocate. As a Giants fan, I love Saquon. I would love them to bring it back. But I think we have a really good coach. I think we saw a ton of success. And I think we saw a team play great with no receivers. Like, obviously, we had Saquon, but we were very good with no receivers.
But that's, exactly where I hate to extend this, but where I worry so much that if we don't have receivers,
But now we do.
don't
We've
have a
upgraded
running
our
back,
receivers.
upgraded, yes, but downgraded running back room more should we not re-sign Saquon. That's where I worry that this team will regress this year if we don't have our best player.
I think it comes down to this team made a decision. We have the best coach we've had in a very long time, the best GM we've had in a very long time. This was obviously a very calculated decision. They brought it down to the last day. I think this team will be fine with or without Saquon. So that's where we'll end it off. And we'll move down now to DeAndre Hopkins signs with the Tennessee Titans. A little bit of a shocker. I remember I texted it. I know, sir, you were like, wow, I was not expecting that. I was not expecting that either. This, to me, seems like you're signing with a very mid-tier team. Receivers have kind of gone to die there, figuratively, obviously. So I don't love it. I think if you're DeAndre Hopkins, take a pay cut, do a Von Miller, go sign for the Chiefs, go sign for the Bills, go sign for a contender, even the Jets, even the Giants, who are apparently pursuing him. I think he's better.
I think that DeAndre Hopkins is still undoubtedly a top receiver in the NFL, still a fantastic receiver in the NFL. So I think that we saw A.J. Brown have success with the Titans. I think we could see DeAndre Hopkins mirror that success. Julio Jones did not have success there because he was clearly on the decline in his career. He was clearly at the very end of his career. DeAndre Hopkins is still, I won't say in his prime, but he's very close to it.
Yeah, he's not where Julio is.
He's not where Julio was at. He's not where A.J. Brown was at. He's somewhere in the middle, and I think that's still enough for him to go for 1,200 yards this year. I think
I think
personally
he's a
his
year
stock
at the
increases.
Titans away from where Julio Jones was, though. I agree. I think obviously clear out and out wide receiver 1. I actually think in some ways this is a benefit to Treylon Burks now because Burks now is the wide receiver 2. We obviously all loved him coming out of Arkansas last year. He has a ton to offer, physically really good, fast, good after the catch. Obviously was forced into like a wide receiver 1-ish role this year, so just was not very good. I don't think he played all 18 games either.
Yeah, they didn't really play a wide receiver 1.
Yeah, exactly. So I think for Treylon Burks, this is great. What do we think? Or Serge, we'll let you talk about what do you think about just kind of DeAndre Hopkins going?
Yeah, it was definitely a surprise, but I think, it's definitely a surprise. I was a bit surprised also because he said that.
How many times you said surprise in the last?
No. That's all I can say. Like that's what was my first thought because what he said was that he wanted to go to a place with stable front office, which I guess you could say,
okay.
yeah.
It's not unstable.
A good quarterback and a good
Doesn't have
defense. And a good defense. I mean, he has Jeffrey Simmons. That's good.
But just talking quarterback room, like it's not there.
Yeah. I don't know. It was definitely a weird deal, but he's definitely I think it's the best place for him in the sense that I think he'll put up the best individual numbers. Like I said, 1,200 probably I'd say is his ceiling. I think anywhere else no. I think his ceiling is probably a bit higher than that, but I think his ceiling for receiving yards is definitely the highest in Tennessee, and I think he'll definitely be able to show his talent there more than anywhere else because rather than sharing with either Stephon Diggs or sharing with, whoever else, he's going to be the clear out-and-out receiver 1. But I think the problem is that with Tennessee, I guess Vrabel is a coach that really, I think Tennessee have been a really winning team since Mike Vrabel got there. But I really thought this was the year they were going to kind of possibly even tank for Caleb Williams. But I guess now, obviously, with them signing D-Hop, with them retaining Derrick Henry, who I think at some point was kind of rumored in some trade rumors.
To the Eagles.
Yeah. I guess they're still gonna go for it, still try and go for the division, but I think they're too far behind Jacksonville now. I think we're gonna see. I think Houston could be better. I think Indy could be better. I think I
think
I see the move for D-Hop. I see why it could be kind of enticing. I don't really understand it from Tennessee more. I think it's a bit weird.
Yeah, I agree. I don't understand it from Tennessee. I understand it from D-Hop. I think I'm going to draw a comparison here, and I hate to go back to a team we've already talked about. I think this offense could operate similarly to how the Raiders' offense operated last year. Derrick Henry's obviously one of the best running backs in the game. I think so. Josh Jacobs last year led the league in rushing yards, and Devontae Adams was third in the league in receiving yards. I think we could see Derrick Henry lead the league in rushing yards, and Devontae Adams lead the league or come third in the league, or DeAndre Hopkins come third in the league in receiving yards. But the Titans still might only win 6-7 games. The difference between these two teams is coaching. Mike Vrabel has proven he's one of the best coaches in the NFL, time and time again, and the Raiders' coaching staff is not good.
I'm just forgetting it was the Patriots offensive coordinator or defensive coordinator for the Raiders. Who's the Raiders coach? It's
Josh McDaniels.
Josh McDaniels, yeah, exactly. Who nobody liked when they signed
the
him.
coaching is the clear difference here, so that's where I actually could see the Titans having a somewhat successful season. I think that Jacksonville, I think, is a clearly better team than Tennessee with Trevor Lawrence at the helm. But I could see the Titans giving them a run for their money, at least for a little while, with DeAndre Hopkins, with Derrick Henry, because we've seen Derrick Henry's taken a semi-quarterbackless team to 13-3 before. So I think that
Tannehill has definitely been good. The years
has been a solid
Tannehill has been very good.
And obviously
he's been a consistent top half quarterback.
He's better than any option they've got right now, but 13-3 is a lot better than any option they got right now. I think that the Titans, if things pan out, could win 9 games, 10 games potentially this year.
But here's what I'll say. The Titans, and like we've talked about, have consistently been one of the teams that have proven that they can be successful with not great players, not great quarterback play. That's why I give Ryan Tannehill a ton of credit. Like, I think, look, very, very much credit to him. He's been definitely played against the odds. It's just, to me, I think DeAndre Hopkins won't make the impact that a lot of people think a player like DeAndre Hopkins will make. Whereas here's the thing. If he goes to the Bills, I guess for him, I know this doesn't really make sense. Where does he fit on a Bills team? Or where does he fit? Yeah, where does he fit? I guess the Chiefs he fits more.
Wide receiver one, but I think even on the Chiefs, he's not a super great
yeah.
fit in the sense that actually, I take that back. I think the Chiefs he would be.
The Chiefs he would be, but the
because
Bills
we saw
I don't
how
like
Tyreek
it.
Hill fit in the Chiefs system.
Well, yeah.
There aren't. I don't think you go to a team that has a bona fide wide receiver one. That's the problem.
Mm-hmm.
Tennessee definitely doesn't have that. I think this is actually, when you look in the grand scheme of things, a very good landing spot for DeAndre Hopkins.
Yeah, I guess he's looking more for personal gain than for a Super Bowl.
I think that he could truly be looking at not necessarily Super Bowl status. But
no, obviously,
this is a team that could definitely go to the playoffs this year.
Yeah,
we've seen Derrick Henry do it before.
I could definitely see the Titans.
I could see the
being
Titans
the second.
Division.
Yeah, or yeah,
I can see it happening.
I could see it happening.
I don't think it will happen. I could very easily see it happening.
Yeah, I mean, you look at the team now. It's definitely a good team.
Yeah, they have good players.
All right, we'll move on now to Dak Prescott, who we consistently love to just hate on and hate on.
Not me. I'm actually not.
Hate on.
I'm not.
I don't
hate
know.
on Dak Prescott.
I will hate
I'm
on
not
Dak
a Dak
Prescott
Prescott
until I
hater.
die. I'm not sure. I still have to watch it. Netflix show Quarterback. Sounds apparently is great.
I saw the first episode.
Yeah.
I want to watch more.
Yeah, sounds great.
That way.
We'll
It's
definitely
a really good show.
check that out. But he said on his on whatever in the show that he will not throw over 10 interceptions this season after throwing the most in the league last season.
I don't know. That's a hard one to predict for me.
What do we think about that?
I think Dak Prescott's a severely overrated quarterback right now, but I also don't know that he'll necessarily throw under 10 picks. Like that's a hard prediction for me to make right now.
And we've got ripped apart. The last football we did, we talked about Dak for a long time. Did the same thing. A lot of people think, Charlie, that Dak Prescott is underrated now because everybody thinks he's overrated.
I think that's a fair opinion to say that he's underrated now because everyone thinks he's overrated. So it changes my opinion in the sense that I think he's very fairly rated because if everyone thinks he's overrated, then it means he's not that good. I think Dak Prescott is clearly a top half quarterback in the NFL. But he's not. I think the Cowboys have had such a good roster in the last 6 years that I think Dak Prescott has played his assets well. And I think he's played them in some senses well and in some senses really poorly. I think he's played them well in the sense that the Cowboys have been very good over the last 6 years. They have been a very good team. Always
in
someone
the
to look
regular
out
season.
for. In the regular season, they've been someone to look out for on your schedule. You know it's going to be a tough game when you get Dallas. However, they've never gone anywhere with it. Dak Prescott has not made an NFC Championship game, I believe. Nope. And now he's without, I believe, the player who's made him look the best, and that's Ezekiel Elliott. Zeke in his rookie season was so unbelievably good that Dak Prescott looked so good.
And Amari Cooper made him look very good.
Amari Cooper's made him look good. CeeDee Lamb's made him look good.
I think they are missing a receiver, and I think for Dak, and they have Pollard now, obviously. He was very happy to sign his franchise tag because he knows he's going to be the starter now. But, again, I forgot Ezekiel Elliott is still – oh, no, he signed – who did –
No, Zeke is a free agent.
Yeah, Zeke's still a free agent. Again, talking more about –
I don't know if he's getting signed anywhere,
yeah,
to be
running
honest.
backs
He's
just are getting criminally not looked at. But I think for Dak, to me, he has proven that, yes, regular season he's great. He can score a ton of points. But I think that comes with the fair share of asinine decisions and throws. And I would be very surprised if he does not throw over 10 interceptions this year.
I agree.
Because that's like Aaron Rodgers, who's won back-to-back MVPs, is like he doesn't throw 10 interceptions in like those MVP years. And I'm pretty sure one of them he still threw over 10. Like it is like even as a Joe Burrow, Josh Allen, and Patrick Mahomes, it's hard not to throw 10 interceptions in an 18-game 17-game season.
I think it's hard to do, but I think it can be done in a lot of different ways. I think it's not necessarily – I don't think that Dak Prescott throwing 9 interceptions this year necessarily will change my opinion on him. Again, I don't think Dak Prescott is a bad quarterback. Like, to be clear, I don't think he's a bad quarterback.
Well,
I think he is clearly a starting quarterback in the NFL.
Yep.
I just think that saying under 10 picks, it might not be due to Dak Prescott personal improvement that he throws less than 10 picks. They're just an interception is a snap decision to the point where he throws a ball and it could be a really, really bad ball, but it gets dropped by the cornerback. And that's where, like, the actual interception numbers, I don't think matter that much.
Yeah. Unless
Dak
they're
Prescott's
horrific,
thrown a
like
lot.
Jameis Winston.
There have been horrific interceptions, but there have also been horrific interception drops.
Yeah.
So I think that all in all, it kind of balances out, and I don't think that interceptions are necessarily the best statistic. Obviously, more interceptions signifies, worse decision making overall. But I think the trend is not totally it's not totally linear. I think we've seen really bad throws not get intercepted and really fantastic interceptions. So I think that Dak Prescott, the improvement that I want to see to prove to me that Dak Prescott truly is one of the best quarterbacks in today's game is to actually win. To actually go to an NFC Championship game.
Win the playoffs, more specifically.
Win in the playoffs. I think that he is capable of doing so. He hasn't showed that he can yet.
Yeah.
I think the actual interception numbers to me are not such a big deal.
Well, especially for Dak because they win a ton in the regular season.
They win a lot of games, but I think he also throws a lot of interceptions because, and I've made this point for a while, I don't think their defense is as good as everybody says it is in terms of points allowed. They allow more points than you would think for a top 2. I think they have some of the best defensive players in the league, Micah Parsons, Trayvon Diggs. Mm-hmm. But I think that points allowed, Prescott, this could be due to the offense playing badly in the first half. It could be due to the defense playing badly in the first half. I think they end up playing from behind a lot, and that's going to lead to more interceptions as a quarterback. That's just what it's going to do.
Yep.
Yeah. All right.
I think. Oh,
Sorry.
I didn't even say. I think he will throw over 10 picks just because. I think consistently, again, for any quarterback really not named Aaron Rodgers, like
that's really difficult to do. Even Patrick Mahomes.
Yeah, I'm also viciously wrong with the Aaron Rodgers thing. He hasn't thrown 10 interceptions
in a while.
Rodgers is the kind of quarterback who it doesn't surprise you when you see the numbers at the end of the year and he only has 4.
Exactly.
He's had years where we've had 2.
What? Yeah.
So never mind, that was very wrong.
But throwing under 10 picks is just really
hard.
difficult.
Even
Patrick Mahomes didn't do it this year.
And Dak was someone who led the league in interceptions this year. I think it's hard for him not to improve, but I still think 10 interceptions. I think if he threw like 12 interceptions, it'd still be a pretty good year taking care of the ball. But
15 interceptions, it's not that far off.
Oh wow, it was only 15.
15 interceptions
so I guess,
could be
genuinely
the flip of a coin because a few of them are dropped or a few of his receivers make the catch. Who knows? But I think it's not impossible for him to throw sub 10, but it's really difficult to do. I would take the over. I think he's throwing more than 10 interceptions.
Yeah, I agree. I'd take the over.
Yeah.
All right, we'll move on now to the fun segment. So I'm going to close my eyes. Welcome to Wavelength. Charlie and Surge will each have a number in their head. I have 4 questions, 2 to each of them, to ask them any NFL subject to try and guess the number they are thinking of. It's 1 to 10. Play along with us. I'm going to close my eyes. You guys can figure out the number. Okay. First question, Charlie. Since we were talking about running backs, give me a running back in the NFL.
Any NFL running back. How about Isaiah Pacheco?
Ooh.
Talked about him a little bit earlier. Isaiah Pacheco.
All right, Surge, give me a NFL team, any of the 32 from this past season.
It's tough. I'm going to say the Detroit Lions.
Okay.
Okay.
Go on.
Okay. Charlie, give me a college football program. Historically. Or not historically, just like a college football program.
Wow.
Or if that's too hard, then no.
I don't know if this is... What about Oregon?
Okay. Oregon. Okay, last question. Surge, give me a quarterback.
I'm going to say... I'm going to go Tua. I'm going to say Tua.
Okay.
That tanks it to 1 for me.
I
Okay.
didn't hear that.
I know it's not a 10. I know it's not a 9. I know it's not a 1, 2, 3. I don't think it's a 4. I think the number is 6.
Correct.
Got it.
There, I
Got it.
was gonna do 7, but I was like, Tua takes it. And I know what you think about Tua. Okay,
I actually
6.
think Tua is better than a 6, but... Yeah.
Okay,
I
I
think
can
6 is
understand
fair.
that.
I'd
If
say
it was
like
Dylan or if
mid-tier.
it was you, I would have been like, okay, maybe
That's
7.
an 8.
or 8 or 9. But there we go. Okay, moving on to the next one. This I'm really excited for. We have an NFL running back draft. So how this works, it's like a fantasy draft. We each have picks. Charlie, you have the first pick. I have the second pick. Surge, you have the third pick. You get 2. It's a snake. Then it goes, you get 2, I get 1, Charlie, you get 2. Like that.
All right, we're just going back and forth.
So Charlie, we get 4 rounds. So 4 players each. Charlie, start us off.
Christian McCaffrey.
Okay, I'm going to go for Saquon Barkley.
Thank God. That's the number 2 running back in the NFL.
I'm gonna go for. I'm gonna be a bit of a homer here. I'm gonna say Brees Hall, and then I'm gonna.
We're taking like best running backs, or we just
Brees Hall.
Kian. Go.
And then for my second player, it's a tough one. I'm trying to think. I'm gonna go with.
How is this taking you?
He's
This?
thrilled right now. I mean,
Yeah, I'm thrilled.
Well, I'm
How
trying-
is this taking you this long?
I'm trying to
Go,
think.
let's
I know
go.
I'm
5
missing
seconds. 5, 4, 3, 2.
Oh, Nick Chubb.
I think he's happy as hell.
Okay, here's the thing. I'm between Derrick Henry and Josh Jacobs.
I
Because
take
of
Nick Chubb
recency,
over Josh Jacobs.
I'm gonna
You
go.
took Nick Chubb over Derrick Henry.
No, you know what? I'm going.
Derrick
I'm
Henry.
going Derrick Henry.
Yeah, that's
Derrick
exactly
Henry.
what
I'm going
I
Derrick Henry.
Really?
That's who I want on my team.
Okay.
I mean, Christian McCaffrey and Derrick Henry have
Yeah.
been the best 2 running backs in
Yeah.
the league in the last 5 years.
Yeah.
So I don't see how.
No, but we're talking about currently.
Okay, Charlie, your pick.
I will take Josh Jacobs
Mhm.
and going a bit down the order. Give me Joe Mixon. This is a guy who
Oof.
can explode any day. Give me Joe Mixon.
You were hating on that's. Oof, I don't like that pick. A lot of people do not like. Okay, here's what I'm thinking. Cause yeah, but I know I'm gonna go. Okay, but
Yeah.
Charlie, you have to think this past season. I'm gonna go. Yeah, I'll go Jonathan Taylor. I think I have the best team right now. Serge, you're
I
right.
know exactly who I want next too.
I know you do also.
And then for my second pick, I'm gonna go with Travis Etienne. I think
Insanity.
no, I don't think
I'm
so.
with that. Insanity.
Running back and pass, great running back and also great in the passing game again. Something you need out of running backs. I feel like nowadays. So I'd go Etienne.
Okay, I'm gonna go. This is the steal of the draft. I'm going Austin Eckler.
Absolutely. That's exactly who I wanted next. I should have taken him in the last round. I mean, I would have taken him easily in the 3rd round, but I'm going to go. I feel like this is like we've sort of eliminated all the top tier running backs with the exception of Surge because he's taken 2 non-top tier running
You're
backs.
Taking who I want.
I think I'm going to take Tony Pollard. I'm not a huge Tony Pollard fan,
That rounds it out, right?
but this is a very good NFL running back who I'm not sure there's someone that I'd rather have.
Okay. Vote, comment down below. Who has the best team? I think it's pretty clear who has the best team.
I
We
have
know it's not
McCaffrey.
Surge.
Can't
We know
keep
it's
it
not
out.
Surge. We'll just.
I
we'll
don't
just
know.
say
I
that.
don't know.
We know
I'll
it's not you.
I'll disrespect.
All right. Well, that will end it out. Thank you so much, ladies and gentlemen, for watching us. Key McDermott, Charlie Nadell, Surge, Kadali. We will see you next time. Obviously, subscribe to the channel. Follow us on social media. All of these clips will be posted up there. We also do, if you guys are fans of soccer, or you could call it football, we do content around that sport as well. So make sure you guys are following us if you guys like that. Comment also down below if you're both football fans. If you're an NFL fan and a soccer fan, there's not a lot of them. So let us know if you guys are. Thank you all so much for watching. Thank you for listening if you are listening to us on Spotify, and we will see you next time.